Boyfriend has been living with me for a month and a half and now refuses to pay his half of rent. I, 19 female, moved out and started renting an apartment in November of 2020. In February of 2021, my boyfriend, 21 male, moved into the apartment with me due to his own circumstances requiring him to move. He had no job, so when he moved in we agreed that he wouldn't have to pay rent until he got a job, and once he got a job he'd have to pay half the rent and electricity. That seemed fair to me. And he agreed to it. Not too long after he moved in, he got a job, and has had said job for almost a month now. Today being the first, rent is obviously due. So I texted him and asked if he could Venmo me his half of the rent, and instead of just a simple yes, he asked to talk about it when he got home from work. I said okay I guess, but what is there to talk about? He said that since he's not happy with the apartment, it's decorated to my liking, since I lived there for 4 or 5 months first, there was a hot water issue which has since been fixed, and a few other things. He wanted to look at other apartments, which we have been, and planned on breaking our lease because of the hot water issue, but can't anymore since they fixed it. He couldn't pay rent. Keep in mind he has been bragging for months about how much he has in his savings because we have very different spending habits. I guess what I'm asking is, what do I do? He finally agreed to Venmo me the money with a bit of attitude, but I have yet to receive the Venmo. Am I asking too much of him? Am I assuming unfair things? I didn't think half of the rent was too much to ask because he's living there full time, and I didn't think half the electricity was too much to ask either because he plays video games on his PC quite a bit, and often forgets to turn lights off around the apartment, whereas I'm very anal about turning all unused lights off. Rent covers all other utilities. Please help. Edit. Here's an update after a long discussion and lots of crying. I'm not sure many of you will be too happy since a lot of you suggested we break up, but I didn't want to just give up and take an easy out over something that could have been a misunderstanding. Which is exactly what it was. He was at work when the text conversation went down, so he was responding when he could and responding as fast as he could so as not to get in trouble. When he said he didn't want to pay rent, he meant that he didn't want to Venmo me today because he gets paid tomorrow, so he wanted to wait until tomorrow. But also a lot of you are right and I have been missing a lot of red flags. I brought them up, and we sat down and had a long conversation about all of it. Our conclusion was that he is going to find his own place and move out, and we will see how the relationship progresses from there, and when my lease is up we will reevaluate and determine if it's healthy for me to move into his place or if I need to continue to live on my own. A lot of you were concerned about my codependency issues and whether or not I'm getting therapy for it. I see a therapist once a week, and have been working for a long time on my issues. I had a very rough childhood filled with abuse of every kind, eating disorders, and a multitude of mental issues passed down genetically as well. I sought out the worst men I could and it led to a lot more issues. I have definitely gotten better, but codependency isn't something you fix overnight. I know it's not the update a lot of you wanted, but I hate giving up, and to me I didn't think this was something to break up over. He did Venmo me the money, and my rent is paid. As of right now, we're watching a movie and trying to wind down. Thank you to those of you who offered kind words, and thank you to those of you who offered advice. And fuck you to those of you who offered harsh words and even took time out of your day to private message me hurtful things. I may be a softie and I may try my best to be gentle and kind, but I don't and won't put up with that. Tell him to move out. You have only been living together since February and he's already giving you shit about carrying his weight. Imagine what it will be like a few years down the road. Things could get much worse. What the fuck? He moved into your apartment. Of course it's decorated to your liking. That's not a reason to not share the rent. Ew, get the money and tell him he can move out until you both find a place together that's to both your liking. You're not a fucking homeless shelter. LMAO, why are you not already kicking the bum out? Tell him to pay up or move out. If you're living together, shared expenses and rent are a fair deal. That an apartment isn't entirely decorated to his liking is a lame excuse, as well as the heater not working. If he's already having this much difficulties keeping his word early on, I would advise against renting something together already. He needs to 1. Pay rent. Or 2. Move out. It's just that simple. Why are you tolerating this? You say you love him, but would you treat someone you love and respect the way he's treating you? To the curb with his ass. Don't waste time even trying to get him to understand. Stop giving you attitude. He's a fucking baby. Tell him to go decorate his room at his parents' house. He agreed to pay half when he got a job. It was not contingent on his opinion of the decor. Tell him he can honor the agreement or he can move out. If you can't trust him to honor his word now, you know he won't honor it later. Is his name on the lease? He does know that even if he is not happy in the apartment that the rent is still due and he is in face living there. Not sure if it's a brain fart on his part or if it's a red flag, but the fact that he seems to fine with you paying for everything is a big nope. He's using you. No matter if he's in love or not, he is using you. Why does he believe you deserve to pay for it all? Why does he believe you're not worth helping? I would break up with him sooner rather than later. Of course you can remind him about the Venmo and gauge his reaction there. Thing is you had a deal and he can't decide the deal is suddenly off. That is a shit character of a human being. You are way too young and 2 years is nothing. If he isn't on the lease he has to go anyway. Kick him out and break up with him if he refuses to pay. You wouldn't put up with this bullshit with a regular roommate. Why would you put up with this with your significant other? Make sure no matter what you do not enable him to not help you pay half on a place that he shares with you. This guy has money in the bank and a job to boot now. He may make up lame duck excuses for not paying his share down the no fine line. Ask him where can you go and live for free? He sounds like a tight wad. You may have a problem that could become a pattern. Already you are seeing how tight-fisted he can be and that he probably will expect you to do more than your fair share. He's taking advantage of you because he knows he can get away with it. His excuses are pathetic. Tell him he can add whatever he wants to the apartment or to get out. You may have a disability but you cannot let him take advantage because it will get worse and he will push you to the edge until you finally snap. He needs to pay or needs to leave. He has no right to not pay bills. Learn from my mistake. I married an asshole who gives me shit when I ask him to pay his share. We finally have separate bank accounts, but he gives me less money towards bills than I make. He went out and bought a $51,000 truck without mentioning it to me first. Run, Forrest, run. Am I asking too much of him? Am I assuming unfair things? No. Don't let him finagle you into letting you pay for his shit. Just remember that unlike apartments, relationships don't require 30-day notice. Change the locks. He can get a key when he starts paying half the rent, or he can move. He's being petty and ridiculous. I mean if he had a lot in savings he should be able to afford it now. He's milkin' ya. I hate to say it but I don't believe his excuse. All he had to say to you was I don't get paid until tomorrow. But the truth is he probably got a paycheck before then and he should have gotten it to you then so you wouldn't have been late on the rent. I'm glad you decided to have him get his own place. But I would really seriously think about moving past this point. Sometimes the kind people are taken advantage of. Don't let that be you. You had an agreement. He is breaking it to live off you and pay nothing. You should not have to ask. He clearly likes to keep the money in his own pocket. Time to have the talk, pay or leave. You are not his parent. Write down what you need each month with bills. Make it an automatic payment. If he refuses then it is your choice what you do with a moocher like him. He hates paying for things and doesn't mind that it's at your expense. He knew the agreement but now resents having to pay for something he's had for free for a bit. It's pretty classic but no less irritating. If he does end up paying but stays pissy about it you'll have to be a little more direct with him. If he can't be decent about something as simple as paying rent to live somewhere, direct him to his precious savings and show him the door. Bottom line. He hasn't lived up to the agreement you made jointly prior to his moving in. Kick him out. You don't need to fight this battle each month. Nor do you need the attitude he's laying on you. Tell him you can't afford to support both of you and even if you could that isn't fair to you. A lot of people pay rent on apartments they don't like. He has the money. He just doesn't want to spend it. Tell him to leave. This is usury and his excuses are bullshit and childish. A man should desire to pull his own weight and pay his own way. He's a man baby. You can ask him that if he doesn't like this apartment then he can find another one and since you can't break the lease so you will stay here. It's pointless to break up a 2-year-old relationship over such a matter. He is definitely acting like an idiot but if finance is the only issue here then it's an easy way to get rid of this problem without any argument. He will move out or pay his share of rent and electricity. If he has great savings, why was it necessary to wait till the next day for the money? Red flag. If he's not on the lease, call the cops and have him removed. Break up with before calling. You have a big heart and seem like a nice person. There's a reason so many of us here are saying the same thing. Don't settle. You deserve much, much better. Tell him to move out. He's not going to pay rent. He's going to have an excuse whenever he needs a new one. He has enough savings that he should absolutely have been helping from the jump. You are not asking too much. He is living under your roof. Tell him to move out. You are not his mother. Living partners do not do this. Girl, the man is trash. See our female dating strategy for more info. He just showed you his cards. He's with you because it's convenient and he'll be unfair to you. If he won't pay rent, then he needs to move out. He went against the agreement you made, and is choosing to mooch off of you instead. What are you getting from your relationship that makes it worth it to be taken advantage of like this? He doesn't respect you, won't keep his promises, and is now acting like a kid who is throwing a tantrum because he didn't get his way. This is a big flag. Will only get worse from here. He is a freeloading douche. Toss his ass out. Not only should he pay for this month, he should pay for the months he didn't pay. Why on earth should he have a large savings when you've been subsidizing his rent for the last 4 months? Tell him if he doesn't pay rent, he no longer lives there. You absolutely did not assume anything unfair. He's being a prick. I'd move on from him. Someone that respects you honors their word to you. It doesn't matter if he wants a new apartment, he made a bond with his word. He is now responsible while he lives there. If he wants to go get an apartment on his own, that's fine too. But he needs to pay this month now. He already agreed to it. If he won't, then he isn't worth your time at all. Kick the motherfucking leech out. Or have someone else evict him. Slap a legal notice on his sleazy ass. He is scamming you. You don't have to raise him. You deserve a honest person. If he doesn't want to pay the rent, tell him to move out. If he is going to make a fuss over small things like that, I'd be very worried. Kick that freeloader to the curb. None of his reasons are actual reasons. Living in a childish fantasy world. Doesn't want to pay, let him get his own and pay for it all himself. If he doesn't want to pay rent, he doesn't have to live there. Simple. You have a red flag now. Pay up or tell him to pack up. The bullshit he's gonna try to pull is just beginning. Run. Tell him to pay rent or he has 30 days to move out. The end. You can either make excuses or make this work, your call. Tell him he can want to move, dislike whatever he wants to dislike, etc., but that does not change your agreement, nor does it change the fact that he's living under your roof. If he wants to renegotiate terms for future months, that's fine and you can have that discussion. It either ends with you both happy or him or you moving out. But this month he absolutely owes you rent. Lol. He should pay half of everything. Wi-Fi, water, electricity, rent, shopping, etc. Everything. If not, kick him out and let him rent his own place. Girl, I have unfortunately been down this road twice and I can tell you with absolute confidence that it will not get better. He needs to move out immediately. Tell him if it's such a problem for him to pay his own living expenses, then he doesn't have to live with you. He's got plenty of money and he can get his own apartment that he can decorate however he wants. Since he is unhappy with the apartment, he should leave and go live someplace where he feels justified in paying all of the rent, by himself. It was a simple and straightforward agreement. Imagine how selfish he will become as time goes on. Red flag all over. You are not a free meal and free fuck booty that comes with shelter. He agreed to pay his half, that's great. But if there's ever stalling, do not hesitate to throw him out. Boyfriend or not. No rent equals no shelter. Extenuating circumstances, sure. But this is not that. This is you being a softie and OT wanting to ruin your fuck booty as a fuck buddy. A real boyfriend wouldn't hesitate to pay his half if he had it. Just saying.